watching AYV Television.
And welcome to the maiden edition of State of the Nation on AYV. We are broadcasting across all our platforms on Channel 33, DSTV Channel 399, and our social media platforms including YouTube and Facebook. This program brings you hard-hitting interviews and in-depth analysis on the most critical issues shaping Sierra Leone. I am Umaru Fofana. Coming up in the next 90 minutes, amid a fierce controversy that led to a walkout by the main opposition APC party, Parliament has passed amendments to the country's constitution. We are joined live in the studio by a Harvard-trained lawyer with 30 years of experience. What does he make of these amendments, and which areas does he think should have been prioritized? Why has Sierra Leone's biggest bilateral donor considerably cut aid to the country? The UK High Commissioner joins us live in the studio, and we will hear from Sierra Leone's High Commissioner in London. Also, we have an exclusive interview with Alhaji Mohammed Omodu Kamara, popularly called Jagaban. Who is he? What leadership skills does he bring to the table? As a millionaire, is he trying to buy his way to the presidency? And Babadi Kamara marks his first 12 months at the helm of the Sierra Leone Football Association. We talked to him about his first year in office and asked, why did he sack the national team coach Mohamed Kallon? And did he back the FIFA president Gianni Infantino in his controversial attempt to privatize the hosting of the FIFA World Cup, a move that has now been abandoned amid an outcry from leading football federations? So please, stay with us. After weeks of sometimes heated deliberations, Monday was to climax discussions in Parliament on amending Sierra Leone's constitution. The Attorney General Alpha Cissé submitted sections of entrenched or ordinary clauses in the documents, also known as Act No. 6 of 1999. It followed decades of unfinished attempts aimed at amending the country's most important document. The proposals include a raft of measures, most contentiously provisions dealing with the country's electoral system. It was initially proposed that for anyone to win a presidential election outright, they must get a simple majority vote, in addition to gaining 20% of the vote in 2/3 of the country's geographical districts. So that means that for someone with even 40% of the votes, for example, could be elected president of the country for as long as they got the most votes and won 20% of the votes in 11 districts. The opposition APC would have none of it. So according to the Attorney General, they climbed down on that after meeting with the party. Then they settled for 50% plus one vote, which is an absolute majority. However, they discarded the 20% district threshold. Another contentious issue was the electoral system. The proposal was that district block should be used to elect members of parliament. Again, the APC were implacably opposed to that. Following disagreements over the voting pattern in the well of parliament, the APC lawmakers walked out. In the end, 97 MPs, among them ordinary lawmakers and paramount chief legislators, passed the constitutional amendments. However, like any other piece of legislation, it is subject to a presidential assent. But this time, it is also subject to an interpretation by the country's highest court, sitting as its constitutional court, which constitutes 2/3 in parliament. Is it of elected MPs or of those MPs present in the House during voting? This is up to the country's highest court to decide. But it is also up to us here to talk about this and related issues. To do so, I'm joined by Mohammed Pamamo Fofana, a legal luminary, Harvard graduate with almost 3 decades at the bar. As far as I know, not many lawyers in this country are as politically neutral as Pamamo Fofana is. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Pamamo Fofana.
Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to ask you, what, by your reckoning, constitutes 2/3 vote in parliament? Is it of those members who are present during the voting or of elected parliamentarians?
Well, it actually depends on the specific provision that you are dealing with in the Constitution. So, for example, by what you indicated, the Speaker had his own interpretation of those provisions. So he applied Section 91, subsection 1 of the Constitution, which says that, subject to the provisions of the Constitution, that where decisions are to be made and taken in Parliament, the majority of the members of Parliament present will carry the day. They will take the vote and that will end that decision. But Section 108 is a species of its own. It deals primarily and fundamentally with alteration of the Constitution, amendments to the Constitution. And they are in 2 folds. The first one deals with amendments of the Constitution that are not on entrenched clauses. Entrenched clauses are those clauses that are safeguarded because the makers or the draftsmen didn't want people to toy with certain provisions in the Constitution without seeking the people's mandate through a referendum.
Right.
So those provisions are there. But also within that same Section 108, you have ordinary provisions in the Constitution which can be amended but subject.
Those are the entrenched clauses.
Non-entrenched.
Non-entrenched clauses,
Non-entrenched, but they are still within the confines of Section 108. They are not outside of Section 108. Now, the technical thing about Section 108 is, unlike Section 91, which says, except as provided for in the Constitution, Section 108 says, subject to this section and not the Constitution. So the intention is to protect and safeguard that section. Subject to this section, Parliament may alter the Constitution. So that section is, insulated, it is safeguarded, because the intention is not to politicize the Constitution.
As far as I understand, that does not seem to be the contentious area. The contentious area is defining what does a 2/3 mean? Does it mean of those members who are present when an issue is being voted on, or of all elected members of parliament?
Well, that is what I was driving at.
Right.
If you take 91, section 91, subsection 1, it actually applies to all other provisions in the Constitution except 108, in my estimation.
Right.
Because it says, except as provided for in this Constitution or subject to the Constitution. 108, on the other hand, does not subject itself to the entire Constitution. It subjects itself to the same 108.
Yes.
Because the intention is to safeguard and protect. And that is why I think the Speaker, in his wisdom, decided that, the best way out of this is to refer this thing to the Supreme Court for purposes of interpretation and or construction, as the case may be.
So sorry, go on.
Because when it comes to 108, you have to treat it with a very delicate pair of gloves. It is not like other provisions in the Constitution.
Right.
So whether it is about entrenched clauses or non-entrenched clauses, because the non-entrenched clauses are dealt with, in the first part, which says you must have, the first reading, you do 2 publications, 9 days in between. You gazette them. Right. And this is also very crucial, because the gazette is a crucial function of our Constitution. It was not meant to be toyed with.
That's for the public to be informed.
Exactly. But how many times have we seen gazettes around? People do not even know what. They are more familiar with newspapers than gazettes.
But even when these gazettes are published, Pamomo, not many people bother to read them, except lawyers mostly.
So that's what I'm saying. It is now our business, because don't forget, this meeting is not just about, what happened in Parliament. It is about the entire Constitution. We have to be serious about that Constitution, and we have to be serious about informing every Sierra Leonean in every nook and cranny of the nation about the contents of that Constitution. So if it is about transforming gazettes into newspapers to make sure that people really read and understand, because that is the essence of lawmaking.
And in this day of the age of
when they
social
say
media,
gazette, the understanding is that you bring it to the people. The people must understand what Parliament is doing.
Exactly. And maybe that means they should even try to have, audio versions of the Gazette and push them out on social media in this day and age.
It is all about sensitization.
Right.
People must, because don't forget, the legitimacy of every government belongs to the sovereignty of the people. The people carry, the day when it comes to the mandate of what constitutional instruments are.
Now, we'll leave that to the Supreme Court to decide, but then you and I have had conversations in the past about the need or not of amending the country's constitution, something which was recommended by the country's Truth and Reconciliation Commission. The constitution is 35 years old, so clearly there's a need for it to be amended. But do you think the fundamental areas that require amendments are being given priority, or is there some political expediency in all of this enterprise?
Certainly not, my brother. I would tell you that more than ever before, this very Constitution is in dire and overarching need for overall transformation, not just these hand-picked amendments that we are seeing, or alterations. Because can you have a Constitution that has provisions that are fundamental on rights, on welfare and well-being of the people, being couched in a chapter called the Fundamental Principles of State Policy, Chapter 2.
Chapter 2, yeah.
And then, that is where everything is. If you look at Section 4, it talks about sovereignty of the people, that the government owes its legitimacy to the people, that everything that they do, it depends on what the people say by way of their votes, by way of informing them, by way of how they respond. How can you now come and make that particular chapter and the sections thereunder, and you say they do not carry, legal rights, or they do not confer legal rights?
So maybe they cannot be enforced, they're non-justiciable.
So if you say the power belongs to the people and sovereignty belongs to them, but that it is non-legal, what are you saying?
So for example, Chapter 2 prescribes that people should have economic rights, they should have the right to an education, etc., etc. But it cannot sue the government where they fail to provide those functions or
Yeah,
facilities for you. Is that
That
right?
is even on the extreme. But what about the fact that that same chapter, it is that same chapter that deals with the ground norm of the Constitution, which says power belongs to the people. That the legitimacy of every government depends on the votes that they get from the people and the way the people respond to them.
Don't we have
And
this
then it
regular
says that
elections?
section is non-justiciable. It does not confer legal rights. So the Constitution as it is in its most absurd form. We need to look at it and we bring sense into it, because don't forget, when the Constitution was drafted, it was moving from a 1978 one-party Republican arrangement to need for a democratic arrangement.
I was just going to ask you about that, because sometime this year I was present when you delivered a paper where you spoke about, quotes, deliberate design by politicians to divide our country and keep us apart and at war with ourselves, only for their own personal gains and entrenchment. And you made reference to the 1978 Constitution, which you argue was what was continued into the 1991 Constitution. Is it your fear that that may just creep into the new Constitution, which has been promulgated?
I mean, you've just, really touched on the historical aspect of our constitutionalism. In 1978, there was a Section 5, which was a one-party Republican Constitution, which said that you can exercise and enjoy your rights and freedoms as long as they are subject to the rights and liberties of the recognized party. The recognized party. So the recognized party then had rights and liberties, which no one knew, and that Constitution did not spell out what the rights and liberties of the recognized party was.
So broad.
But that was the one party. Those are gone days now. So when they now came to draft this new Constitution, they looked at it and said, let us not give the people much rights and much welfare and much freedoms. That's why they created Chapter 2, Fundamental Principles of State Policy. You say sovereignty belongs to the people. You say the people are entitled to, decent wages. You say they are entitled to vocational, technical, adult literacy. You say that, everything beautiful about what people should have is contained in Chapter 2. But then Section 14 says it does not confer legal rights. It is non-justiciable. So
you are arguing that the current amendments or review that is going on should have considered making those rights justiciable?
If this is a pro-people thing, because it is about what the people really want. It is about how do we move on as a nation. Because don't forget, the breadbasket of the nation is there. We have resources. But without human capital, you are nowhere. The people need, governance structures, institutions, and leaders who can now maximize their welfare through these laws and ensure that, they are protected. And it is not just about one party coming in and one party going. Because this is what we see every now and then.
I get the feeling that...
How do you sustain laws to the point that, they are protective of everybody, whether you are in power or not? How do you ensure that, the country is integrated? Because if you also look at that fundamental principles of state policy, it is an objective, a social objective of government to ensure that they integrate and unite the nation. This thing about bringing ethnic, and tribal insinuations is very unhelpful to the nation.
You sound disappointed, if not even frustrated, at the fact that key, or those areas we consider as key in the Constitution are not being considered for review or amendment.
Absolutely, because don't forget, I have been in this thing for quite a while. I was involved in the Sam Sumana, constitutional litigation, in which we stood up and said on behalf of the vice president then that the president had no business laying him off. And look at the way the judiciary extended the definition of supreme executive authority.
And you also are calling for that particular ruling to be looked into by the Supreme Court or through an amendment of the country's constitution, which, for example,
there was an
article there
made in this
exactly
one
that
to deal with that.
So whether or not
don't forget, our presidents are not our God. They are not the Almighty.
Mm-hmm.
We respect them. They are fountain of honor. They are guardians of our constitution. And above all, they are first among equals. They are first among equals, but that does not mean that they are our God. Allah Almighty is greater than all of them.
So you are pleased that there's a provision which says that whether or not a president is thrown out of their political party under which they were elected, they will remain in that position under the amended
Yeah,
constitution.
because there is a tacit way of overturning the Samsumana decision.
Yeah.
The Samsumana decision was just an effort by the Supreme Court to overstretch Supreme Executive Authority. And by that, because when you look at the Constitution, all of the arms of government are equal. And they are not only equal, they are also accountable to the people. So if you place the presidency in a position of an almighty status, how will you want that presidency to account to the people?
If you could, would you rather the president did not sign the amended provisions, but rather should open it up again to absorb some other provisions?
Yes, that's crucial. And please bear with me. The president has to be very careful in this, because it is provided for in section 40, and I must read it out for, the attention of the listening public. Section 40, subsection 4A reads, and this section 40 deals with the executive, the presidency. Say, notwithstanding any provisions of this constitution or any other law to the contrary, the president shall, without prejudice to any such law as may for the time being be adopted by parliament, be responsible in addition to the functions conferred upon him in this constitution for the following: 1, all constitutional matters concerning legislation. All constitutional matters concerning legislation, he shall bear that responsibility. So he has to be very careful the way he deals with this. Because don't forget, any attempt to alter the constitution without any lawful means is a treasonable offense.
Would you consider this as unlawful?
No, it is because, don't forget, if you look at what the section says about alteration, section 108 again, and I have to be very careful so that I'm not misunderstood. Section 108 subsection 7 says, no act of parliament shall be deemed to amend, add to, or repeal, or in any way alter any of the provisions of this constitution unless it does so in express terms. 1087, any suspension, alteration, or repeal of this constitution other than on the authority of parliament shall be deemed to be an act of treason. What has been done was done on the authority of parliament.
I was going to say that, yeah.
It was done on the, so you can't really say that, what they did was treasonous.
Treasonable, yeah.
But however, the speaker in his wisdom was very clear. Say, let the courts look into this. Because like I said, 108 is not like any other provision in the constitution. It stands on its own. And I think really, it is not really subject to that section 91, subsection 1, which is a general, provision. This is a species of its own.
Right. And in that case, if the Supreme Court rules that the Speaker got the definition of two-thirds majority in Parliament correct, and then the President goes ahead and signs it into law, or he decides not to sign it into law, isn't there a provision in the Constitution that a bill passed by two-thirds majority in Parliament cannot be overturned by the President? It automatically becomes law even when the President refuses to sign it.
Yeah, there's also that provision in the
Right.
Constitution. But these are all, little nuances here and there. What is at stake here now really is whether those provisions, because those provisions are amendments to the Constitution. They are not entrenched, but they are fundamental amendments. You are now saying that, if you get 50% plus 1 vote, you are the President of Sierra Leone, unlike the existing situation where you have to have 55%. That's a fundamental amendment.
Right.
Because the presidency is a very, influential and fundamental position in the country. So, and also the thing about altering the electoral system, that's a fundamental provision. I even was wondering why these provisions are not entrenched. So that is why we need to look at this constitution as a whole entity. There are too many things here that must really be looked at and thrown out. And some of them must be entrenched. We as a nation should now be very, very concerned about moving forward. Don't forget the history of our wars. Fortunately, I was in the special court. I served there for over 10 years in all of the 3 limbs. You have the AFRC limb, the RAF, and the CDF. I served in all of them, so I know what war means. The evidence that we saw and the extent to which, the atrocities destroyed the country. So we should not really toy with the TRC's recommendations. In this constitution, we should be more focused at this moment on, for example, making provisions for institutions that really mean well for our country. How do you entrench, the Anti-Corruption Commission in this constitution? How do you entrench the Audit Service Commission? How do you entrench the environmental aspect, the National Minerals Agency? These are all institutions that we must look at and bring them under the fold of this constitution. How do we also ensure that the security forces, be it police or soldiers, are really just confined to their professional functions, and that nobody interferes with the way and manner in which they are run, especially when it comes to appointments. We should have situations where, all respect due the presidency, some of these appointments, we should have situations in the constitution where if we entrench those institutions and safeguard them, probably the presidency can just, ceremonialize their appointment.
Isn't it a matter of the president being too powerful? Even some of those positions that are arguably really secure, they've got security of tenure, they've been kicked against. For example, Jenny Rogers was head of the Central Bank of Sierra Leone. He was sacked when Ernest Koroma was president, before the end of his term. Adeyana Thomas was Chief Justice. He was sacked shortly after Ernest Koroma had been sworn in. The same happened when Marabio was sworn in as president. The Central Bank Governor Patrick was sacked. So was the ACC boss. So it's not a matter of the law. It's because there are other arms or limbs of the Constitution that give too much power to the president, would you say?
So again, it boils down to how strong are our institutions. A lot of the things that we are saying is not really the absence of laws.
Exactly.
The laws are there.
Right.
But because we have kind of given too much power, and even by some measure judicial, extension, overstretched powers of the executive, we now find ourselves in this situation. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, the executive is not functioning at their best. Right. But we are saying that we must have laws that are actually operational. If the police is to safeguard our welfare and to ensure that we live in peace, they should do it for everybody.
All right.
They should do it for everybody. We should all make sure and be assured that, these are institutions that are paid from taxpayers' money and that they are not just serving politicians.
All right. Thank you very much.
So these are the issues.
Thank you very much. Like you say, let's hope that the laws are respected, because the amendments now include insulating the police force from political control. But let us hope that that letter of the law will be respected. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You're listening to State of the Nation. Thanks for joining us on this show. It is indeed a pleasure having you here tonight. First of all, where do we stand on what constitutes two-thirds majority? That's an argument for the Supreme Court to help us with. But then we go to our next item. Sierra Leone's budget is largely funded by donors who are euphemistically called development partners. For decades, no bilateral donor pumped as much money into Sierra Leone like its former colonial power, Britain. In recent years, however, the amount has dwindled, affecting a lot of sectors in the country's development. While in London recently, I spoke to Sierra Leone's High Commissioner, Dr. Mori Manye, about the cuts.
Well, the numbers have gone down. How badly, that is something else. At the moment, I think if you're looking at aid, trade, it's gone down by something like 80%. But you have to be able to put that in context. And by context, I mean, what are the conditions, what are the factors that have influenced this drop in change? Britain at the moment has a capacity problem. They are not members of the EU, they are not on the usual terms with the USA, for instance. There's the war in Ukraine, there's the war in Gaza. So all of these things have influenced how much they can give. I mean, if I can use a Sierra Leonean expression, Ide Inodu, Uda Idegi. And of course, given self-preservation, you have to start with you and your own people first and your own interests. So, yes, it has gone down, yes, significantly, but it's within that context that I think we want to take a look at it.
And do you believe that those dwindling numbers in terms of the cuts have come about entirely because of Britain's own economic challenges and not as a protest for anything against Sierra Leone?
I don't think so. I don't think if it's as a result of a protest against Sierra Leone, because the cuts are not just limited to Sierra Leone. You take a look at other African countries. There's been that kind of cut. We are not even the ones. We are like I say, over 80%. But you take other countries. In some cases, it's as high as 90%.
Yeah, no, Malawi is higher in terms of the cuts.
Yes.
Rwanda is also higher. I think we're the fourth hardest hits on the continent.
Right. So, no, I don't think it's anything to punish Sierra Leone. I think it's, like I say, they have their own capacity problem, and so we have to understand that these things happen. And again, talking about context, the fact that they have had about 10 different ministers for African development, they have had so many prime ministers in so few years, these are all indicators that all is not well within the country itself. I mean, as recently as 2 months or so ago, it's been a change in government already. I mean, in government meaning there's a new prime minister. So they are struggling with youth unemployment, they are struggling with cost of living, they are struggling with quality of life. So I don't see how we would say that the cuts to Sierra Leone are as a way of punishment, if you see what I mean. And I will have to say that our relationship with Britain has been good.
So you are saying, High Commissioner, that the cuts are not as a result in any way of the elections of 2023, which were disputed,
No,
for which
no.
there have been some hue and cry around.
No,
on
I
some
don't
countries.
think so. I don't think so. If you remember, before the elections in 2023, the last Commonwealth Secretary General, and remember that the King is head of the Commonwealth, but all of the political parties contesting those elections to sign up to a peace treaty. And I think that act, that event, is part of the reason why we have a tripartite thing going. And when we were in the United Nations Security Council, the Chatham House, which is a world-renowned policy institute, and which is supported to a very large extent by the Foreign Commonwealth, by the FCDO, they sponsored a Sierra Leonean fellow who was based here at Chatham House to support our UN activities in New York. So that does not sound like bad blood to me.
Sierra Leone's High Commissioner to the United Kingdom. Well, I'm joined now in the studio by his opposite number, the British High Commissioner in Sierra Leone, Josephine Gold. Ambassador, many thanks for agreeing to be with us tonight. How much does Sierra Leone, how much is the country affected by Britain's overseas aid cut?
Well, the overseas aid cut is really affecting all of our development partnerships around the world. So yes, Sierra Leone is affected too. I think it's quite an opportunity that we're pivoting slightly in how we're approaching it. So we are continuing to invest quite heavily through the multilaterals. So everything that the World Bank does, the IMF, African Development Bank, there's a bit of British money in those interventions too, because we are, as members of those institutions, we are.
But there was always British money.
There was always British
money there, whilst you still give bilateral to Sierra Leone.
Yes, but that bit is always there. And then we have our bilateral programs. I think over the last 20 years or so, we have been very, very involved across Sierra Leone in the post-war reconstruction, around Ebola. It's always been a really important partner to us, and somewhere where we've really wanted to invest heavily. I think now we're going to be doing less of the big infrastructure projects. So we recently completed work on putting solar in lots of hospitals. I think 25 district hospitals and lots of the and health centres around the country. We've been working with the African Development Bank on the Bo Kenema high tension line, transmission line, those kind of projects. I think now we're going to make sure that those are really implemented and they're sustainable, but we want to start working in a slightly different way. So probably a bit more technical assistance and looking at how, I think the real pitch we want to do now is how we can work with Sierra Leone to help increase the economy, grow the economy. So lots of focus on private sector, encouraging businesses, bringing in investment, and also helping the system collect more revenue. So working with NRA, working on some of those kind of more efficiencies. We've been working with some of the councils about improving their property tax collection, because that way Sierra Leone will have more resources to then determine how to spend and how to invest in the country.
Now, we'll come to the issue of trade and not aid very shortly, but then the High Commissioner there in London said that the cuts are up to like 86% down from what Britain used to give Sierra Leone. That's a huge climb down, isn't it? Why is that?
It's hard to... I don't have the sort of statistics over the whole period, because I think we've had really high points. I think, for example, during the Ebola period, then it was just, throw everything we can to try and help Sierra Leone to deal with this huge national emergency. And that, different periods have been different levels of funding. So it has been coming down for a while. And globally, we have gone from contributing 0.7% of GDP as our as overseas development assistance to 0.5 and now 0.3. And that's really a response to global challenges and threats. So we're spending a lot more on defence and security. And our government has said that they want this to be temporary. The ambition is always to return to 0.7. But I think economic conditions are going to have to permit that to happen, and global security conditions are going to have to change as well.
Is that, like Dr. Marumanya said, due to the fact that Britain has more financial commitments these days, and being out of the EU, and then with relations to the US not as cozy as they used to be, with Ukraine happening and the Gulf crisis or the Middle East crisis? Do all of those things put together impact British economy such that it has had to cut down foreign assistance?
I think that they really do. I mean, Ukraine you mentioned, and that's a really important one. We had all been enjoying a long period of peace in Europe, and now we have reassessed some of the security threats, and we are therefore bolstering a lot of our own domestic defence spending because of that. And then I think, like the rest of the world, the crisis with the Straits of Hormuz, the impact on fuel prices, I mean, that has repercussions in everything. So that the economy takes a hit with that.
Now, one thing which the High Commissioner also said, I'm not sure whether that made part of the clip we just played there, but he said that they had held a lot of meetings. African diplomats in the UK have held a lot of meetings with British government officials to be able to ensure that trade and not aid be the real emphasis by Britain. How much of that is happening right now in terms of Sierra Leone British aid?
A lot.
Trade.
Absolutely. I've been in meetings like that myself today as well. So I think that's the demand we're hearing. So what we've been trying to do is really listen. So here as well, we had a really interesting roundtable a few months ago with the Vice President and some of the ministers to really talk about some of the ideas we had for how we wanted to work here, and really listen and have a good discussion about what that could look like. We did a big investment forum last year, which in London, and then an investment forum here with the FAO looking at agriculture and looking at opportunities, how we can help develop the agro-processing industries and some of the agriculture elements. Vicky Remio was leading the Diaspora Investment Forum in London a few months ago, which I also attended. So there's a lot of interest. I think that's what we're always hearing from this government, private sector here, and it's very much a similar message we hear in other African countries. Actually, people want to just be having a business-to-business relationship.
Now, there has been talk about Sino-Africa relations to mean that it's China being interested in Africa's raw materials, which it takes to China, as opposed to really, strengthening Africans to be able to do business in China, besides buying textile and all of that. Is that a kind of model Britain is trying not to emulate, so that it becomes an equal partnership between Sierra Leone and Britain, for example? I
think we want a win-win. We definitely want a win-win, because that's what's going to be long-term and sustainable, I think.
Right.
And I think given the history of our relationship as well, we are invested in Sierra Leone. We care. We've got a huge Sierra Leonean diaspora back in the UK. So there's all these kind of personal ties as well between the two countries. So a lot of what we're doing, we've got something called British Investment International, which is our development finance arm. So we can do kind of some quite interesting loans, and we can, and it's really their mandate is to look at how they can invest in businesses, projects, different things, but really with a development lens. So some of the conditions for them to lend, it has to be about creating employment, it has to be about making sure that women are really kind of favourably treated, it has to be sort of sustainable, environmental impact really matters. So that is our biggest kind of vehicle for investing. And so a lot of it will be very much looking at making sure that it is beneficial and is going to work for Sierra Leone.
And back to the issue of aid, there's a risk that the cuts may deepen poverty in Sierra Leone, for example, which could have a concomitant effect on the country's safety and security, which could have even impact on elsewhere in the world, in the sense that it will force not least young people to want to migrate illegally to Europe. Is this something which you've considered?
I mean, that's an argument we hear a lot. I think, every country's budget, these are choices. So I think also for the government of Sierra Leone, how they allocate budgets, these are choices. What are you going to spend on health? Can you spend on education? What is spent on defence? What is spent on, the functioning of government? All of these, like we make choices, so does the government here. So I think we have done, I think some of the investments we've done historically have been really significant. I think it's sort of like £188 million over the last 10 years or so in health, similar amounts in education. There's been some really big, sizable projects. I think what we want to see now is what we can do to make sure that is sustained and keeps going. We've also been working, for example, with the Ministry of Finance and the World Bank on the execution of budgets. Right. So often we see here in Parliament, you have the big budget debates, you have the budgets allocated, and then you go out into the field and people are saying actually the money is not necessarily coming through. So we've been doing some work together with the Ministry of Finance to look at what's happening and just trying to help with that budget execution to make sure that every loan which is allocated actually gets to the end user, because I think there's a lot of it's about finding where there's inefficiencies, where processes can be made more effective to ensure that the money that is available is getting to the end result. Yeah.
So hand on heart, Madam High Commissioner, Britain's aid cut to Sierra Leone has nothing to do with Britain's dissatisfaction over things that are happening here in this country.
It's something we're doing all over the world, sadly.
But the scale is different. For example, Malawi is losing more than Sierra Leone is losing, but Sierra Leone is losing more than most other countries are losing.
I don't think I'd say that. I mean, it is I think we
published the fourth hardest hit.
No, I don't. I
think it's Malawi, some other country, and then Rwanda and Sierra Leone.
Rwanda is big. Kenya is a huge cut as well. It's really. It was published in Parliament a few months ago. Mm-hmm. They put out the numbers of where it's going. I mean, it's pretty seismic compared to what we we used to be able to spend. So I think that's why we're going to put as much effort as we can and energy into looking at how we can attract the investment and really work on this, the private sector dimension, while still trying to keep an interest and find where we can add most value in areas like health, education, which where we've really kind of had a really long-standing relationship, and we, you know, I think we've seen really. I think we're really proud to have been able to contribute to some of those results in terms of like reducing maternal mortality, which has been huge in Sierra Leone, and so I think we don't want to walk away from that, but we want to see how we can make the most useful contribution.
Right. And before I let you go, I mean, it's been interesting, dramatic in Parliament in the last few weeks, not least in the last few days. What does that make you think in terms of, would you call it vibrant democracy, or would you say it's another bearing, overarching bulldozing by the establishment?
I've got a copy of the Constitution in my bag. I was reading it when I was just going through all the articles to really try and get a good understanding. I mean, what is important? I mean, Parliament is so important in this. Like the Constitution is the fundamental text. So I mean, I think Sierra Leone is proud of a kind of democratic debate, but it's really important that is, you know, that the institutions are taken seriously, that it's respected, that, you know, that and all of this is. I mean, we've all seen some of the ups and downs that Sierra Leoneans had to go through, and the people of Sierra Leone have really sort of faced those challenges, and so there's a huge responsibility on the politicians and the parliamentarians actually now to look at making sure that they get this right, and that there's a good basis which will be the pathway to the next elections, and to ensure that everybody is engaged and committed and can really compete, and that, you know, may the best man or woman win, whether it's as an MP, president, or, you know, at every level. But it needs to be a system that everybody can believe in.
Ambassador, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Truly, honestly, I truly appreciate you being with me in the studio this late. Thank you very much. That's Josephine Gold, British High Commissioner to Sierra Leone. Now, we move to our next segment. But a reminder that you are listening to State of the Nation on AYV with me, Umaru Fofana. Still to come, we have an exclusive interview with the opposition presidential aspirant known fondly as Jagaban in his first ever sit-down interview. And we'll hear from the president of the Sierra Leone Football Association on why he sacked the national team coach, Mohamed Kalon. Every day, our nation faces questions that demand answers. What is happening in Sierra Leone? What is the context? Who is being heard and who is being ignored? What does it mean for you, your family, and for the future of Sierra Leone? Behind the headlines are the real stories of the everyday people. Some are being heard, others are being ignored. Because a nation deserves to know more than just the headlines. This is where we ask the tough questions and give analysis that liberate. Join us on State of the Nation on AYV across all our platforms. With me, Umaru Fofana. Sierra Leone's former president, Ernest Bai Koroma, once made a joking but many say truthful remark when he said that there was so much sonko-sonko or chaos in the running of football in Sierra Leone. That situation continued up to voting day last year, which led to the election of Babadi Kamara as president. The general consensus seems to be that it has been much calmer in the last 12 months, barring a few skirmishes here and there over the sacking of the national team coach, Mohamed Kalon. 1 year to the month since he was elected, I sat down with Mr. Kamara to talk about his tenure. How has it been so far?
The core functions of any federation, football federation around the world, is the organization of competition. And I must say, in my last 12 months, we've been able, when I say we, Sierra Leone Football Association is run by the executive committee. We've been able to organize every competition that falls under our mandate. It will surprise you to know that the last two administrations before me, over 10 years, they only organized 2 FA Cups. In my 12 months, I've been able to organize an FA Cup, which ended extremely well, and Eastern Lions happens to be the winner. Apart from that, we've been able to organize Division 1 tournaments for men and women, female. We'll be able to organize Division 2, the Premier League for both men and the female, and all have been successful. We are able to complete those competitions in a very amicable and transparent manner. And all championship prizes from national playoff, FA Cup, men and women Premier League, all of those prizes have been paid in full without any delay as it used to be. So competitions have been very, very well organized under my administration, which is the core functions that we are here for. Apart from competition, you talk about governance. We've achieved a lot through governance. You can now look at the federation. Before this time, you have trees all over here. You have people gathered all over. It's not like that anymore. There's serenity around the environment of Sierra Leone Football Association now, headquarters.
Okay. And you spoke about gender empowerment, in which case you've brought in more female to work at the FA. Obviously, you've not reached the 30% quota yet, but it seems you're getting there in just 1 year. But also female football. How is that panning out? Because I realize that a lot of the clubs cannot afford to have a female team to be able to compete.
Yes. In most parts of the world, male teams should have female teams. But that's not what is happening here at the moment. At the moment, you have other individuals whose interest is not in the male team, but only in female team. For instance, in the executive committee, we have 2 members who owns female teams, Pastor Bork and Mr. Fode Anthony, who is the regional chairman for Eastern Region. They both have female team, but they do not have male team. Yes, apart from the female team, all the clubs are being constrained when it comes to finances. But over the years, the female football is growing, and my administration is paying keen interest into it. That is why when we took over, we first appointed the female football manager, who is now working assiduously with the technical department to bring in the female football strategy, which is a requirement for FIFA. That document has been done, sent to FIFA. We are waiting on them to approve the strategy. Once they approve, they will have a national launch of that document, which will be the guiding principle on how national female football is being governed in Sierra Leone. And once approved, it will attract funding from FIFA purely for female football competitions. So that is in line.
Absolutely. Mr. President, I'd like to take you to another point, namely the way the interface between the states or the government and sports generally, but particularly football here. And I'm talking about the National Sports Authority. There have been complaints by many members of the public that the establishment or the way the NSA functions now is a burden on the running of football in the sense that a lot of the funding towards football goes towards the NSA, who are not the guys who are really running or playing the sport?
That has been a challenge. But for me, it was not supposed to be a challenge when you have people who are like minds and whose interest is the game. So for now, if you have a president here at the Federation and somebody at NSA who want to compete for the resources, then there will be problem for football. But when you have a president and an executive director whose interest is improving the game, then I don't see any way where there will be a problem. Because as Football Federation, we are not being appointed by government. So for government to give their resources to us directly, there must be a body that will monitor that. And I believe NSA is there to monitor what we do, to regulate our activities, because government mostly finance our national teams. So it will not be good, or it will not make total sense if they can just take the money from Ministry of Finance and give it to us as XLFA without any government agency being part of it.
Why not, Mr. President? This could be audited. They could give you money directly and then audit how the money was used.
It could be audited, but as best practice may be detected. This is not just about Sierra Leone. If you go to Ghana, if you go to Liberia, anywhere you go in Africa, that is how it is.
And the NSA does more than just supervise the resources. They sort of spend the resources on
before
themselves.
They used to spend the resources. When I took over of recent times, that is changing, because there is a very good collaboration between the Ministry of Sports, the NSA, and SLAFA.
One thing that has been singled out as probably your biggest challenge, or maybe the most controversial one in a 1 year in office, is the sacking of the national men's senior team coach, Mohamed Kallon. Why did you have to do that?
Mohamed Kallon was sacked for several reasons. If you ask Mohamed, he will tell you that as an individual in this room, so many times I told him we have to work in the interest of Sierra Leone. I don't have anything against you. Like people will say, oh, because Mohamed did not support him in the last election, that is why he does not want to work with him. That cannot be true. When it comes to this federation, almost everybody here was against me. It is natural. If there's an incumbent president working with people, the people are already comfortable with that particular president. So they wanted him to continue. Mohamed Kallon did a lot of things locally which we stomach. For instance, I can tell you there is a technical committee for SLAFA. I am not part of the technical committee. When Mohamed was asked to present his credentials, he refused to do it. He took to the social media.
Credentials that would prove that he's fit to coach the team.
Not that is qualified, not fit, that is qualified. Because before going to Azerbaijan, or even before I took over, CAF has sent a memo requesting that every national team coach should have a license or UEFA Pro. That was communicated. So before going to Azerbaijan, FIFA will always want you to present the team that is going. So you have to also present members of the technical committee and their qualifications. So Mohamed was asked to present his credentials, and he said, okay, they are in America, in this room. Oh, my license is in America, I don't have it here. And I told the committee that give him 10 days to get his documents from America. That was granted to him. After 10 days, he did not bring them. They called another meeting again. He did not bring his documents. And he was given another week. And by then, FIFA was on our neck to submit our list, because the tournament was getting very closer. So the technical committee called another meeting and said, Mohamed, if you could not provide us this document, we are going to set you aside. After that, I took my phone and I called Safa Abulai, who was by then the national executive director
Of the
NSA. I told him, this is the situation, but you be the key stakeholder in this game. We don't want to go public on this without letting you know. So the technical committee have sat Mohamed Kalon aside, and we are having Musa Kalon and Zappa to go with the team to Azerbaijan. And Safa said to me, "Oh, Babadi, don't do that. As a lawyer and border, I will advise you, if you are investigating his credentials, allow him to go, this and that. So after, we'll look into it." So the next day, we came here. But by then, I've called the vice president, one who is the chairman of the technical committee. I've called him to overturn the decision
Of setting him aside.
of setting him aside based on my discussion with Safa Abdullahi.
So he came back and went to
So
the
he
team to
came
Azerbaijan.
back and went to the team to Azerbaijan. But before that, before going to Azerbaijan, we call a meeting here. Because where I don't want to go into his contract. This is about his contract. So they went to Azerbaijan. When they went to Azerbaijan, there is always a pre and post-match press conference for these competitions, especially when organized by FIFA, spend the money and every other thing. So when they went there, they asked him to go for press conference. He said he will not go. So they
Was that the post-match or the pre-match?
pre-match he did not go. He sent Paul Parker. Paul Parker also by then did not have the qualifications to be a national team coach, member of the national team, like coach assistants 1 or assistants 2. So Mohamed Kalon registered him as psychol, whatever, I don't know. But when they went there, before leaving here, he listed him. He did not list him as assistant coach. Say somebody who can just be around the players, talk to them psychologically, something like that. So, but when they went to Azerbaijan, Mohamed Kalon submitted his name to FIFA as assistant coach, which was wrong because he did not meet the criteria. So when they asked him to go for the pre-match, he sent Paul Parker. So Paul Parker went for the pre-match press conference, and FIFA registered their anger and their dissatisfaction, and that was communicated to the vice president and his brother Musa Kalon. So they went to him and said, "You cannot do this. This is a FIFA organized competition. So there's no way you can come here and they ask you to go for press conference, you will not go." So FIFA said, "We'll accept this, but the post-match, the national team coach must be there." So after the match, they called him again. He said he will not go. They said they will find Sierra Leone football. He said he will pay. He did not go. Sule Kakai, the captain, was in the press conference room waiting for Mohamed Kalon. He did not go, and the press conference had to be cancelled by FIFA because the head coach was not available. So for us, that is unacceptable.
Did you ask him? Did he tell you why he didn't show up?
He doesn't talk to anybody. Even when the transition committee came here to interview people, when they asked him, he didn't talk to them. He doesn't talk to anybody.
Back to his qualification, I'm surprised that he had been recruited before you. Didn't you inherit a file that contained his contract and his qualification to be the team coach?
No. Before this time, with all due respect, things were not done like that. You can just say you are this, you are that, and it's done.
But I would imagine that before playing any match that was FIFA or CAF sanctioned, they would have required him to submit his credentials first before he would serve as the team coach.
No, well, they sent a notification back in June 2025. Around June 2025, I was not here by then. So when you go for those competitions, he's registered in the TMS system as national coach for Sierra Leone, but it's not always that they have to ask for the documents. But in this specific one, going to Azerbaijan, FIFA asked us for the credentials of our national team coaches. So that was when I even came to realize that this memo has come from FIFA, from CAF long ago, that these are all categories of national team should have these qualifications.
FIFA presidents came under some serious flack lately, just following the FIFA World Cup, in which he sort of proposed to outsource or even sell shares, some percentage of the shares of FIFA, to hosting the World Cup rights. Before he withdrew that proposal and apologized, what was your view?
My view was to approve the proposal.
You wanted to approve?
Yes.
Why?
The thing here is, those countries who are against the proposal did not even give us a chance to look at the proposal.
But the president himself gave you a chance to look at it before proposing it publicly.
The president sent emails to all federation presidents that we've given you this document. go through, accept or register your disapproval, which I think that was a democratic way to go. But other confederations, I believe, even without consulting their membership, the federations around, the MAs in their federations, even without consulting them, they said, no, we cannot accept this. Football is a very big political business. It's very, very big. The Europeans, they think football is theirs. And because football is theirs, they are not thinking about other members who are constrained economically. I don't have any problem for them having an issue with the proposal, but they should have asked for a session, Congress. They have the right, 20% of the membership should call an emergency Congress. We go to Congress, we'll look at the documents, we'll ask questions. Yes, I mean, they can be suspicious, but they should have asked questions for FIFA to answer before just saying, no, we are against it. $40 million, I was going to do a certain arena in the Western area that will give us
There's
like
a football field in Bo. The stadium in Bo, you were going to
yes,
allocate.
I was going to get that.
How do you have got that money?
From the 40 million that we are
So
going to
tell
give
me,
to
how would
us,
this have benefited football, the proposal?
if they give for Africa, Sierra Leone to be specific, $40 million is a huge amount of money to develop football.
So under
Now-
the terms, under the proposal, if it had gone through, FIFA would have got so much money that it would have been able to give the SLF $40 million.
$40 million, yes, sure. In it.
President of the Sierra Leone Football Association. Judging by your reaction on social media, the big interview with Jagaban coming up shortly. But just a reminder that you're listening to and watching State of the Nation on AYV with me, Umaru Fofana. A reminder that we just had a series of interviews and the big one is coming shortly. Stay tuned. Every day, our nation faces questions that demand answers. What is happening in Sierra Leone? What is the context? Who is being heard and who is being ignored? What does it mean for you, your family, and for the future of Sierra Leone? Behind the headlines are the real stories of the everyday people. Some are being heard, others are being ignored. Because a nation deserves to know more than just the headlines. This is where we ask the tough questions and give analysis that liberate. Join us on State of the Nation on AYV across all our platforms with me, Umaru Fofana. Every day, our nation faces questions that demand answers. What is happening in Sierra Leone? What is the context? Who is being heard and who is being ignored? What does it mean for you, your family, and for the future of Sierra Leone? Behind the headlines are the real stories of the everyday people. Some are being heard, others are being ignored. Because a nation deserves to know more than just the headlines. This is where we ask the tough questions and give analysis that liberate. Join us on State of the Nation on AYV across all our platforms with me, Umaru Fofana. Every day, our nation faces questions that demand answers. What is happening in Sierra Leone? What is the context? Who is being heard and who is being ignored? What does it mean for you, the family, and for the future of Sierra Leone? Behind the headlines are the real stories of the everyday people. Some are being heard, others are being ignored. Because a nation deserves to know more than just the headlines. This is where we ask the tough questions and give analysis that liberate. Join us on State of the Nation on AYV across all our platforms. With me, Umaru Fofana.
AYV is your home of credible, factual and balanced news coverage. We pride ourselves as the nation's most trusted news source. Because of this, our brand is likely to be used to spread fake news. To verify our stories, please check our various social media pages, visit our website on www.ayvnews.com or send us an email to info@ayvnews.com. AYV is your home of credible, factual and balanced news coverage. We pride ourselves as the nation's most trusted news source. Because of this, our brand is likely to be used to spread fake news. To verify our stories, please check our various social media pages, visit our website on www.ayvnews.com or send us an email to info@ayvnews.com. AYV is your home of credible, factual and balanced news coverage. We pride ourselves as the nation's most trusted news source. Because of this, our brand is likely to be used to spread fake news. To verify our stories, please check our various social media pages, visit our website on www.ayvnews.com or send us an email to info@ayvnews.com. AYV is your home of credible, factual and balanced news coverage. We pride ourselves as the nation's most trusted news source. Because of this, our brand is likely to be used to spread fake news. To verify our stories, please check our various social media pages, visit our website on www.ayvnews.com or send us an email to info@ayvnews.com.
Every day, our nation faces questions that demand answers. What is happening in Sierra Leone? What is the context? Who is being heard and who is being ignored? What does it mean for you, the family, and for the future of Sierra Leone? Behind the headlines are the real stories of the everyday people. Some are being heard, others are being ignored. Because a nation deserves to know more than just the headlines. This is where we ask the tough questions and give analysis that liberate. Join us on State of the Nation on AYV across all our platforms. With me, Umaru Fofana. Every day, our nation faces questions that demand answers. What is happening in Sierra Leone? What is the context? Who is being heard and who is being ignored? What does it mean for you, your family, and for the future of Sierra Leone? Behind the headlines are the real stories of the everyday people. Some are being heard, others are being ignored. Because a nation deserves to know more than just the headlines. This is where we ask the tough questions and give analysis that liberate. Join us on State of the Nation on AYV across all our platforms. With me, Umaru Fofana.
Sierra Leone, are you ready? AYV Media Empire brings AYV Hit the Street tournament. 16 teams, one crown. Who will be the king of the streets in this grand showdown? Watch this.
Show that. It's a woman to my number. And I remember with email. Me pet from Mutanka. Me know me per detail.
But this thing I don't turn a lot. They don't see they want try me as well. They don't see hide me as well. I don't go on this far kilometer.
You bet, eh? 50,000 millions and a deal with Housemate Salon Season 5 is up for grabs. So go, Kenema, Makeni, Cambia, Kono, Potloko, we are coming to your city. So get your dancers ready. The auditions are underway. Do you know a dance team? Are you part of a dance team? Get yourself an audition form at AYV Media Empire for free.
AYV, hit the streets, make the ground shake beneath your feet. AYV, hit the streets.
We are coming to your city.
And finally, the road to 2028, when voters will go to the polls. There are an estimated 12 aspirants vying to become the presidential candidates of the main opposition All People's Congress Party. One of them is businessman Sheikh Mohammed Omodu Kamara, better known as Jagaban. I went to meet him at his Freetown campaign office.
Hello. Good evening. Thank you very much for your time. How are you? Well, same here. Thank you. You're welcome. All right, okay.
Good evening, and thank you very much for your time to talk to us.
Very welcome.
Could you please tell our, for the Sierra Leoneans who've seen you, who've adored you, who've been supporting you, even not supporting you, you want to tell them who Sheikh Alhaji Mohammed Omodu Kamara is?
Well, alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala mursaleen. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim fil alamin innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim fil alamin innaka Hamidum Majid. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum to everybody out there.
Wa alaikum salam.
Me na Mohammed, well, Alhaji Mohammed Omodu Kamara, who are all known as Jagaban. Me na born from Blama, Sumobo Chiefdom. Me papa come out from Potloko district, Milekure, and my mama come on at Tonkoliri. And I was fortunate for make and go born me in Ablama, small boy chiefdom, between Kenema and Big Bo. So Alhamdulillah, I spent my whole life in Ablama. I did attend primary school, I did go secondary school, Commodity, can finish na Prince of Wales. I did Prince of Wales, don't sit O-level at that time, na O-level me there. From there, I was fortunate also for travel go overseas. So I go London. I spent 5 years in London before I travel go America. So me, I come up from a very humble home. My papa be once a rich man, but something happened down the road. He lost everything. But my papa na one person will not depend on anybody for help. So what the money left we pick up with cutlass, we shovel, we hose, we're gonna farm.
What happened to your dad?
What do you mean?
And what happened when he said something?
Well, it's mismanagement. He travel, go to Hajj. When he comes back, everything is gone. At that time, we're very young, and it's just mismanagement of funds at that time when he wasn't around.
To become the APC's flag bearer to lead the party to the elections in 2028. What makes you different from the others who want to become the same?
Okay. For me, I came with a different type of politics because what I've been seeing here, the politicians, the people have actually, it's like a fatigue on something that they have tired of hearing the same thing. Nothing is progressing. You see people are busy doing something, but not actually producing nothing. And for me as a politician, I see myself different because I actually believe in doing the work than actually saying the work. I do because I've used to do stuff, and what I did throughout my life, I travel now to go London. I do it by myself after God. Nobody not contribute penny for me. I go London, nobody not assist me for job. I do it myself because I believe in fighting for something that I want. And the way I see politicians or the way politics they go in Sierra Leone, so people they think more of themselves instead of the people. And you as a politician, you're supposed to be a server. You are serving the nation. But here is the other way around. That's why people get it wrong. And most of the people, what they gravitate towards me because of what in they see they do. Now I need to seek followers. I want to let somebody attract what they do, let attract you. Then you can come and be part of me. Because this country will get from move on from Usa Ideso. And the only way we move on, we need people with serious mind, people who are detail-oriented, and people who get vision on what to come.
But how do you achieve that? Because at present, the biggest challenge facing Sierra Leoneans is the economy. So, for example, do you have any different economic policies from the ones that we currently have that will change the lives of the ordinary Sierra Leonean?
Well, the thing is, just like when people and they ask me, say, what are your manifesto? What is your money? I'm a walking manifesto. You understand? I've done so many things. I think currently, they contribute to the economy of Sierra Leone greatly because of them small microcredit they were they give out and the assistance where they render, both school, churches, mosques, and they move the economy. That's why when I'm not here, the economy is kind of like dried. But when I come back to Freetown, everything will light up. So I'm like the moving vessel of economy. So for example, like these buses that I'm bringing.
How many buses, by the way?
Well, right now it's 25 buses.
In total, how many do you intend to bring?
100.
Okay.
So I have put in an order of another 25. So it's going to be in 25 increments.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and these buses right now is going to create a bigger impact on the economy because we get for hire more than 100 people. We get for pay taxes, the people and they pay taxes. It's all that thing that make the economy, they go round. And also, I have another businesses that I'm doing, like the motorbikes. That one also, you get for hired a lot of people.
How many motorbikes?
Well, right now, we get over 5,000 motorbikes. We just wait for the assembly hall for making, we finish them. We'll just miss some small parts then for finish the building. Once that building they done, they begin assembly with motorbikes them. And now the most interesting thing about those motorbikes and the buses is actually my aim is for bring relief. Just imagine if that mommy or that young boy out there able for acquire 3 motorbikes, then in a 3 employment he don't create so. And that 3 employment day, it get for generate income, where inside get for pay taxes. So that taxes is get for make the economy grow.
A lot of multiplying
Yes, a lot of multiplying effect.
Talking about which, is it true that you wanted to have an assembly point here for your bikes, but you were denied? Is that true?
Well, no, I wasn't denied.
What happened?
Well, actually, what happened was when, okay, let me phrase this. So when I thought about the assembly plant, and I went to China, and I placed the order for the bikes. So when I came, it didn't, well, I would say that it was a lot of misunderstanding. You know, I think the government thinks that I'm trying to create something without their permission or whatever. It was a whole bunch of mess. But actually, what was missing in that particular event, it was the clearance. The clearance, we put in the clearance. First, they approved the clearance, and then they withdraw the clearance. So by the time they withdraw the clearance, we did not know, that the client has been withdrawn. So everybody has been invited, blah, blah, blah. So everybody was there, everybody was jubilating, with happiness. So, but if I sat here and tell you that I was denied, I'm going to lie to you.
So is the plant ready now? Is it working?
Well, we are almost about 70% complete, because the assembly, the building actually is missing some parts. So we had to order them. But actually everything is going on smoothly right now.
Talking about that and the fact that you said earlier that Allah had blessed you with resources, are you a rich man?
Yes, if you can put all my resources or all my investment together, yes, I consider myself to be a rich man.
How much are we talking about? Hundreds of millions of dollars or millions of dollars? Or tens of millions of dollars?
Well, it's millions. That's I can tell you. Okay, for instance, let's talk about these buses. These buses is over $4 million.
And the
$4 million.
Is it true you're bringing a roll-on ferry?
Yes. Well, the ferries actually, I thought about getting one ferry. But the way I looked at it, one ferry will not do the job. So I decided to do 2 ferries.
Brand new ferries?
Brand new ferries. I would never bring something here that is second-hand. I would never, because I would not do it to my people. I would never do that.
Where did you get all this money from? Is it true you won the lottery?
I wish. This is my handwork money. I started my business with $100. $100. I was sleeping on the floor to get my business going. I slept in my office, a single office. This office is even bigger than that office when I started. It was only one single table. I slept in that office for almost a month just to get my business going. I'm a fighter. I never take things for granted because I know that if you put the effort, Allah will bless you. I'd never depend on anybody. That's why I've never been disappointed because I don't expect nothing from anybody.
That's a nice philosophy. It's only when you're expectant that you get disappointed.
Yes. So
what do you say to somebody who says that you want to buy your way to the presidency using money beyond anything else, more than anything else?
Well, everything in this world is money. It's money. Whoever says that I would say that their way of thinking is out of touch. Because if me helping people to survive, if you consider that buying my way to politics, so be it. Because if I see this, like the women that I'm giving revolving loan, loans without no interest. I don't request for the money back. I give it to them so they can rotate and help each other. Or building the party office from one, how can a party like APC doesn't have offices in most of this district? Have you guys sit down and ask yourself, what happened to the APC party? Where did we go wrong? A place like Mile Sheka, go there right now. They have one of the best party offices in Sierra Leone. So if me, God bless me, I can Nayaso. The APC party, we don't go down. We don't go down. People are even ashamed of saying they are APCians. I don't lift the party up. Now all man they boast of saying we na APC, we na APC. Look the cards, that membership cards. Over $80,000. 9 million contribution for bring them cards in the Nayasu. All the office there where you go, you see party office. Go right now na this main office na Free Toyasu. If you go there right now, you see the tiles them all smooth. You see lights them bright. Try if you go there, if you not be careful, you go one bucky foot.
You did all that for the party.
Yes.
And why have you not helped with the McKinney, the regional office, which is quite a massive...
Oh, very
edifice.
good. I'm so happy that you brought that. And I'm going to speak this in Creole so these people, them and me, they end up go understand me. That party office, I be don't put $200,000 for work na that party office.
When was that?
That was like a year ago. All the leadership na the party, na McKinney, they knows about that. But for some reason, the architecture or the engineer, whoever want for work na the party, a request for the paperwork, the drawings of so they will know Usai and Usai for put parts them. Now the fight broke out.
Oh, I don't understand that.
I don't know. I wasn't there. I was in America when it happened.
But the party leaders did not make that available to you?
No.
Did you ask them?
Well, I asked. Well, I have a coordinator in McKinney that was handling that situation. So I don't know what happened. So I just said, you know what? My job is to help. So if my help is refused, so there is nothing I can do. So that's why, but I haven't given up yet. My aim is to take up that party office very soon. Because I drove by there a couple of days ago. Man, that party office it's a mess right now. And it's a disgrace for us to have, because McKinney is the sitting place of the APC party. It's like the home of the APC party. And we currently have our former president, that's his resident, and it breaks my heart, because to have somebody that have fought so hard for this country and has improved most of the things that we're enjoying right now, to have his home, the regional office to look like that is a shame on all of us, the APCian.
Talking about that, what's your relationship with the former president, Ernest Bai Koroma?
We have a very good relationship.
Are you on regular speaking terms?
Yes, we are.
Is he supporting you?
I don't ask for support because the reason why I don't ask him to support me, I would love his support. I would love for him to support me, but I want him at his own time. My job is to do what I'm able to do. It's not my job to change people's mind towards me.
Aren't you doing that already by talking to people to support you?
Well, I'm doing my job. They are attracted to my job. That's why they're gravitating towards me. It's just like a mango. When you see a ripe mango, have you ever seen a ripe mango come down the tree and said, come and eat me?
You have to go pluck it.
You have to go pluck it. So that's what I'm doing. Let me do my job, and that's what is called in Arabic tawakkul. You do your own job, and the rest, leave it to Allah.
And do you think all of that support you've been offering the party, how confident are you that all of that will translate into you becoming the flag bearer eventually?
Well, one thing I know for sure, the people of Sierra Leone, they are very wise now. It's not like before. So that's why any candidate that underestimates the intelligence of the voters, you are doing it the wrong way. Because these people, they know the difference. They know who is actually fighting for them, and they know who is fighting for their own pockets.
That is secondary in terms of being voted for as president, but within the party, leadership is going to be determined by delegates.
Well,
How confident are you that you will win the party's flag?
Well, currently, I am the leading candidate. That I can tell you for sure.
How so?
Because I have the delegates to prove it. And whoever is questioning that, to come and talk to me.
Let me question that now. Mr.
Okay.
Kumar, can you prove to me that you have the majority?
Yes, I can. Because when you think about the Southeast, you know, I have 100 for 100 in most districts in the Southeast.
Are you predicating that on the lower level elections that's happened recently?
Yes.
Is that the basis?
Yes. And I'm very much confident of that. If you can go and ask, you can go everywhere and ask them. I don't normally blow my own horn because I don't believe in self-praises. I believe in doing my job. And my job is to offer hope for these people that the future, man, I'm telling you, I've been on top of the mountain and I'm looking down at the people and I saw what I'm seeing is happiness, and the happiness is coming. 2028 is going to be a different Sierra Leone. So that's why I'm telling you that I have the proof and I have the delegates. It's all about the delegate and I have them. I am the leading candidate when it comes to the delegates. So that's all that matters.
I was Sheikh Mohammed Omodu Kamara, aka Jagaban, presidential aspirant for the All People's Congress Party. And just to let you know that the fuller version of that interview, as well as the interview with Babadi Kamara, the SLFA president, will be posted on the AYV website in the coming days. And that's how we bring the curtain down on this show. I want to thank my incredible production team who have helped with this program. They make me feel so spoiled, trapping everything for me here. What I've done here, they have done. Thank you very much. My name is Omaru Fofana. Stay tuned to AYV until we meet again next week, Wednesday. Cheers.
You're watching AYV Television.
Freedom is here now, yeah.